जय श्री चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रील रूप गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रील जीव गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Thank you once again, Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu Prabhu, for kindly hosting yet another session of a detailed discussion on Srila Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamritam. I'm very thankful for your friendship, Prabhuji, and thank you for being such a nice host. I'm very grateful for all these weeks of seva that you have rendered, and despite having so many other engagements, you've kindly took out time. So I'm very grateful for that, Prabhuji. I'm also very grateful to all the devotees here who are present, and also to the devotees who hear offline. Thank you so much for kindly being a part of this particular journey on discussing Srila Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamritam. We are continuing our discussion on the penultimate verse, the second last verse. Today is session number 54, and I'll share my screen so that all of us can have a look at the presentation. Dear devotees, welcome to the 54th session of Srila Rupa Goswami's Sri Upadeshamritam. This is a detailed study. And before we begin, I'd once again like to invoke Shanti by uttering Shanti pathah. This is from the Upanishads, and this is to ensure auspiciousness for the student as well as for the teacher. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanam Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sahana Vavatu. May Bhagawan protect both of us, the student as well as the teacher. Sahanau Bhunaktu. May Bhagawan bestow the highest fruit of this study upon both of us. Sahaviryam Karavavahi. May both of us attain the strength to realize the highest truth. Tejasvi na vadhitamastu. May our study shine forth brilliantly. Ma vidvishavahai. And may we never envy each other. Om Shantihi Shantihi Shanti. May peace pervade the three worlds. Dear devotees, it's also important to glorify Srila Rupa Goswami. And here is our verse of glorification and surrender to the author of Sri Upadeshamritam, Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. Tyakto bandhubhirutkat prakritibhir नैकग्रहै पीडिता कुख्यातो जगति तलति विकला कामादि दुर्वृत्तिभिः सन्नीतोऽत्यवमाननां खलजनैर्बद्धश्च पाशैः कले सर्वोपाय निराकृतः शिवकृते श्रीरूपमेव श्रये. Given up by harsh nature relatives, troubled by various malefic astrological planets, completely ill-reputed in the world, extremely harassed by evil tendencies such as lust, etc., thoroughly disregarded by ruffians, firmly caught in the grips of Kali Yuga, and completely failed in all possible ways, I now take exclusive shelter of Sri Rupa Goswami for attaining auspiciousness. Dear devotees, unless we take shelter of Srila Rupa Goswami, it will be impossible for us to understand the inner meanings that he had in his heart while he was composing these verses of Upadeshamritam. We are continuing our discussion on the 10th, the second last instruction, and this instruction is in front of us. कर्मिभ्यः परितो हरिः प्रियतया व्यक्तिं ययुर्ज्ञानिनः तेभ्यो ज्ञानविमुक्तभक्तिपरमा प्रेमैकनिष्ठास्ततः तेभ्यस्ताः पशुपालपङ्कजदृशस्ताभ्योऽपि साराधिका पृष्ठा तद्वदीयं तदीयसरसि तां नाश्रयेत् कः कृति. Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu, kindly read the anvaya.
Okay, Prabhuji. As compared to karmis, the Jnanis are clearly expressed in Shastra as being dear to Hari in all respects. Dearer than the Jnanis are those who have risen above Jnana and who consider bhakti to be the topmost process. Dearer than them are those fixed exclusively in Krishna Prema. Dearer than them are the lotus-eyed cowherd girls of Vraja. Even amongst them, the dearmost is Sri Radhika, who has the greatest essence of prema. This kunda belonging to her is similarly dearmost to Krishna. Which fortunate soul will not take shelter of Sri Radha Kunda?
Wonderful. So this is the translation of the verse. And in the previous session, we have seen the commentaries of the various acharyas. And we have started exploring how karmis are dear to Sri Hari. And then after the karmis come the Jnanis. Dear devotees, closer than the karmis are the Jnanis. Because these Jnanis, they have direct interest in one of the aspects of Bhagavan, and this aspect is named Brahma, what is known as the impersonal Brahman. The karmis are full of desires. They are not karma yogis. They are full of desires, and therefore they are known as sakam, with material desires. The term kam refers to any material desire in general. It refers to any sort of creative tendency, the tendency to create anything, or the creative faculty can also be denoted as kam. It is said in the Vedas, Sah akamayat. Bhagavan desired. Desired what? Initially, when there was no creation, Sah akamayat. He desired to create. So this kam basically refers to any sort of creative tendency within any living entity, whether it is Bhagavan or whether it is the Jiva. More specifically, kam refers to material desires. More specifically, it refers to lust. But here, kama refers to any material desire in general. So the karmis are sakam, they have these material desires. But the jnanis are those who have become freed from those material desires and those who have now become interested in researching the impersonal Brahman. They are closer and dearer to Shri Krishna. In the previous session, it was specified how Bhagavan is equal to everyone. Just like Agni, fire is equal. But the closer a person sits to Agni, the greater proximity that a person has to Agni or fire, the more warmth, they will experience. And the further away a person is from Agni, they will experience greater amount of cold. So this is the nature of Bhagavan. The Jnani is certainly dearer to Bhagavan than hundreds and thousands of karmis. The Jnani is saturated from the cycle of karma. The Jnani thinks, and his thought process is described in the Upanishads. After performing so much karma, I am still unhappy. When will I become truly happy? And the Svetasvatara Upanishad describes the thought process of the Jnani. Yada charma vadakasham vishtayishyanti manava tada devam abhigyaya dukkhasyanto bhavishyate. Yada charmavad akasham vishtayishyanti manava. The day human beings manage to fold the entire sky like a leather purse, that's never going to happen. That is the day on which devam avigyaya, without understanding the Supreme Lord, dukkhasyanto bhavishyati, we will be freed of all distress. So this particular verse specifies an impossibility. Just as it is impossible to fold the sky like a leather purse, similarly, it is impossible to become happy without understanding the Supreme Absolute Truth. And this is the viewpoint of the Jnani. He wants to understand the Supreme Absolute Truth. He wants to have an experience of that formless, shapeless, qualityless Supreme Absolute Truth known as the impersonal Brahman. Not only that, the Jnani is firmly convinced that without cultivating Jnana, I will never be able to attain liberation from this world. And the Jnani has found certain statements in the Shastra which support his understanding. For example, it is said in the Shastras, Vidyaya vindate amritam. Only by Vidya, only by knowledge or Jnana, does one attain amritam, immortality. So the Jnani has read these statements in Shastra. And the Jnani knows this is a positive statement. And there is also a negative statement. Rite jnanan mukti. Without Jnana, without knowledge of the absolute truth, there is no question of liberation. So, in positive and negative, through both instructions, the Jnani has understood that cultivation of Jnana is a must in order to escape the repeated chains of birth and death in this particular world. And therefore he cultivates Jnana. And what is Jnana? Jnana here means knowledge specifically of the impersonal Brahman and knowledge of the Atma, the self, and knowledge of the oneness of Atma and Brahman. Aham Brahma Asmi, that I am that very Brahman. So this is the process by which the Jnani wishes to advance. What is the process of advancement of the Jnani? The Jnani will meditate upon Vedanta Vakyas, statements of Vedanta. He will hear those statements of Vedanta from the Guru, Shravan. Then Manan, he will meditate upon those statements. Then Nididhyasan, then he will deeply contemplate and try to realize those statements in his life. This is the process of liberation for the Jnanis. It is an intellectual process. And in this way, the Jnani tries to advance on the path. Bhagawan also supports the Jnani, because Bhagawan will never oppose anybody who is on the Vedic path. As I have said previously, anybody who is following a Vedic path, you will find a statement by Bhagawan supporting that particular person's inclination. And therefore, Bhagawan supports the Jnani by saying, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate. In the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha. There is nothing in this world, iha, as purifying, pavitram, as jnana. There is nothing in this world as purifying as jnana. When the jnani sees these statements, the jnani becomes enthused. You see, jnana is mentioned here, bhakti is not mentioned here. Karma is not mentioned here. Not only that, Bhagavan immediately says, Jnanam labdhva param shantim achirena adhigacchati. Jnanam labdhva, having attained jnana, param shantim achirena, one quickly, achirena, adhigacchati, attains, param shantim, lasting peace. So having attained jnana, a person will become completely peaceful. And the jnani is looking for that. And therefore, the jnani begins enthusiastically on the path of jnana. The jnani sees there is karma yoga, but karma yoga by itself is not a doorway to perfection. The jnani also sees that there is another yoga named Bhakti Yoga. Now, what is Bhakti Yoga for the jnani? Some jnanis, they disregard Bhakti Yoga. They see Bhakti Yoga as inferior. Why? Because in Bhakti Yoga, there is not so much stress on understanding the absolute truth. There is greater stress on rendering service to the absolute truth. But the jnani thinks, first and foremost, I will understand the absolute truth completely. And therefore, some jnanis, they may trivialize the practice of Bhakti Yoga. An example is found in the Chanakya niti. And Chanakya says, Pratima swalpa buddhinam sarvatra samadarshina. Pratima swalpa buddhinam. Deity worship, Pratima, is swalpa buddhinam, is for the sualpa buddhi, less intelligent. Why? Because the absolute truth is sarvatra, is all pervasive everywhere. Samadarshina, for those who have an equipoised vision. So this is Chanakya niti. And this is quoted in the Bhakti Sandarbha by Sri Jiva Goswami. Now, why would Sri Jiva Goswami quote this statement? The reason why he is quoting is because he quotes the first line, Pratima Swalpa Buddhinam. Deity worship is for the less intelligent. Jiva Goswami says the actual intention here is you have to add api after Swalpa Buddhinam. Pratima Swalpa Buddhinam api. Deity worship is also for the less intelligent. That's how Sri Jiva Goswami says. It is also for the less intelligent. Not only for the most intelligent. Sri Jiva Goswami then gives examples of most intelligent individuals who were performing deity worship. He gives examples of Maharaj Ambarish, who was also performing deity worship. So Pratima Swalpa Buddhinam api. Deity worship is also for the less intelligent. And definitely for the most intelligent. But the Jnanis don't add that api. The Jnanis think Pratima Swalpa Buddhinam. Deity worship is for less intelligent. And once you grow out of that conception of localized worship of the absolute truth, then you realize that actually the absolute truth is everywhere and all pervasive. And then you need not worship the absolute truth in a particular localized form. And this is the Jnani who tries to trivialize or disregard bhakti. Not all Jnanis are like that, but quite a few of them have this thought process. Now, just because the Jnani is disregarding bhakti doesn't mean that the Jnani's path is necessarily easier to follow. Doesn't mean that the Jnani's path is necessarily superior to follow. In fact, gradually, the Jnani begins realizing the difficulties on the path. Initially, it appears very attractive to be equipoised, to see everywhere the absolute impersonal Brahman, to not distinguish between good and bad, to not distinguish between happiness and sorrow, to always see equanimity everywhere. And then in this mood, to observe all the habits of the living entities and to never get involved with any karmic activity. If by mistake a karmic activity occurs, what does the Jnani do? For example, if a Jnani accidentally ends up committing a forbidden activity, like we had covered much earlier in Upadeshamritam, we had covered if a bhakti yogi ends up committing a forbidden activity by mistake, then there is the process of arop siddha bhakti, which can protect him. But what if a Jnani ends up committing a forbidden karma? So the Jnani immediately has to think, Naham karta, I am not the doer. Gunaha guneshu vartante. If you are not the doer, then who committed this activity? Gunaha guneshu vartante. The material modes are engaging with the material modes. I am not the doer. This is the viewpoint of the Jnani. But gradually, the Jnani begins realizing that the path is not as rosy as it was initially perceived to be. Bhagawan himself specifies the difficulty for the Jnani in the Bhagavad Gita. क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखम् देहवद्भिरवाप्यते. Bhagavan, the context behind this verse is that Arjuna asked a question, which form of what is superior? Meditating on the impersonal Brahman or worshipping your personal form? And Bhagavan says, Klesho adhikataras tesham avyakta sakta chetasam. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. Now the Jnani has read these verses. Avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavad bhiravapyate. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. The Jnani knows that in a world which is full of name, form, qualities and pastimes, to meditate upon an entity which has no name, no form, no qualities and no pastimes is difficult. Sometimes the Jnani becomes a little doubtful. I am meditating on Mahavakyas, great statements of Vedanta. Aham Brahmasmi. Rameshwar Mahaprabhu, what is the meaning of Aham Brahmasmi?
I am the Supreme.
In this statement also you are distinguishing between I and the Supreme. Aham is still coming out in this statement. Tat Tvamasi. What is the meaning of this Mahavakya?
You are God.
You are that absolute truth. But in this statement also there is tat and tvam being differentiated. So tvam is again coming out separate. So the Jnani wants to remove this aham and tvam. There should be no third person. There should be no second person. And even the conception of first person should merge into that oneness of impersonal Brahman. It is very difficult because the entire world is made out of third person, second person, and first person. And this creates difficulty to meditate upon that entity which does not fit in the third person, does not fit in the second person, and actually does not even fit in the first person. Because as soon as you say first person aham, that immediately creates ahamkar, ego. That is what ahamkar is, the sense of being aham. So ahamkar is created, and the Jnani wants to avoid ahamkar. So the Jnani understands that the path is not so easy. Moreover, when the Jnani starts walking on the path, after some time, the Jnani comes to know that without bhakti, the path is troublesome. Sri Brahma specifies this in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Shreyasritam bhakti mudasyate vibho klishyanti ye kevala bodha labdhaye tesham asau kleshala eva shikshate nanyad yatha sthula tushavaghātinam. This verse is so prominent that the Guru of Sri Adi Shankaracharya, Sri Gauda Padacharya, has quoted this verse in his writings. Shreyah sritim bhaktim udasyate vibho. Vibho, O Almighty Krishna. Klishyanti, those who undergo various troubles. For what? Kevala bodha labdhaye, for attaining realization of the absolute truth. But bhakti mudasya, by giving up Shreya Sritim, the most beneficial path of bhakti, what do they gain? Kleshala eva shishyate. They attain only labor, hard work, and nothing else. What is their condition like? Sthula tushavaghātinam. Their condition is similar to those engaged in beating empty husk devoid of grains. This verse has a very deep meaning. The comparison is indeed made with a very esoteric meaning within the mind. Their condition is similar to those who are engaged in beating empty husk devoid of grains. Why did Sri Brahma give this analogy, give this comparison? We'll note this, and I'll try to answer this today. Why did Sri Brahma give this analogy? Those who want Kevala Bodh, only impersonal realization, but Bhakti Mudasya, but by giving up the path of Bhakti, for them there is only labor, only hard work. They're not going to attain the absolute truth so easily. Therefore, we will see so many Jnanis, they also take to Nama Japa. In India, there are many Jnanis who will chant the names of Ram, who will chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, who will chant so many mantras which are given in Shastra, who will install various deities of Bhagawan, who will make so many temples. But ultimately, the aim of doing all of that is Kevala Bodh, is to realize oneness with the impersonal Brahman. Because they also understand that meditating 24 hours on an attributeless, formless, tasteless, nameless entity is impossible. Therefore, we need to have some assistance, and that assistance comes in the form of bhakti. Otherwise, Gyan is very difficult by itself. Srila Sridhar Swami, while commenting upon this verse, makes a beautiful point. Bhaktim vina jnanam tu na siddhyet. There is no perfection on the path of Gyan without bhakti. That's it. This is Srila Sridhar Swami, who himself was initiated on the path of Advaita, impersonalism. And as a mature Advaitavadi who has taken to bhakti, Srila Sridhar Swami writes the conclusion clearly. Bhaktim vina. Without bhakti, jnanam tu na siddhyet. Gyan will not attain perfection. Thus, bhakti becomes a prerequisite for attaining perfection on the path of Gyan. This is the Jnani now becoming more mature. Dear devotees, the Jnani has spent quite a few years thinking Aham Brahmasmi and has now found out that it's not going to be so easy. Merely thinking I am a king does not make one a king. Simply thinking Aham Brahmasmi doesn't make one with the absolute truth. So it is required that one should get rid of one's false ego, one's karma, etc. And for that, bhakti is needed. Not only that, Gyan without bhakti is not only troublesome, it is also incomplete. Bhagawan specifies this to his dear mantri, to his dear minister, to his dear friend, Sri Uddhav. Because Sri Uddhav is the disciple of Brihaspati and a very sincere sadhaka on the path of Gyan. And Bhagavan says to Uddhav, Dharma satyadayopeto vidyava tapasanvitam madbhaktyapetam na samyak prapunatihi. Dharma, religious activities, satya daya upeto, along with honesty, mercy, vidya and gyan, tapasanvita, which is obtained with great penances. Mad bhaktya apetam atmanam na samyak prapunati. If they are without my bhakti, then they will never purify one's consciousness. So this is Bhagavan's clear indication that all paths require the support of Bhakti Devi. Question arises, does bhakti require somebody's support? And the Jnani notices that bhakti is completely independent. That bhakti doesn't require support from any other path. Bhagavan says to Uddhav in the same 11th canto, Tasman mad bhakti yuktasya yogino vai madatmanah na jnanam na cha vairagyam prayah shreyo bhavediha. Tasmad mad bhakti yuktasya. Therefore, for a devotee who is engaged in my bhakti, yogino, that for that bhakti yogi, madatmanah, who has his mind fixed on me, na jnanam, the cultivation of jnana, na cha vairagyam, and the cultivation of vairagya, na prayah shreyo bhaved, is not generally the means of achieving the highest perfection. So the Jnana Yogi is specifically told that you must depend on bhakti. Whereas the Bhakti Yogi is told there is no need to depend on Gyan and Vairagya. And this difference, this starking difference, when it is noticed by the Jnani becomes curious about the path of Bhakti. Previously, in an immature state, he was thinking that Pratima Swalpa Buddhi Nam, deity worship is for the less intelligent. Now he finds out that giving up the path of bhakti and simply aiming for Gyan is for the less intelligent. Now he finds out that it's not going to be possible to attain any perfection without bhakti. Another obstacle on the path of Jnana Yoga is that Gyan also requires Vairagya, renunciation. There is no question of cultivating Jnana Yoga for a person who is not renounced. In the composition named Jivan Mukti Vivek, it is specified by Swami Vidyaranya. Vakshe vividishanyasam vidvanyasam cha bhedatah hetu videha muktescha jivana muktescha taukramat. I now specify two types of sannyas, which are primary causes of liberation in this life and liberation beyond this life. Which means he's trying to say that if you want to attain liberation, there are hetu. You need two things. You need one of the two types of sannyas. So sannyas is a must for attaining perfection on this path. Dear Grihasthas, sorry, the path is not going to give you perfection. Shri Adi Shankaracharya, you see his immediate four disciples, Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu. Which one of them is a Grihastha?
None of them.
None of them. Today, Shri Adi Shankaracharya's establishment has four pithas, four different establishments in four different parts of the country he has. Until now, not even a single Shankaracharya has been a Grihastha. All the four Shankaracharyas around India, all of them, since Adi Shankaracharya, they are all sannyasis. When Shri Adi Shankaracharya, he debated Mandan Mishra, at that point of time, the debate went on for quite a few number of days. And the condition was that whosoever loses will become the disciple of the other one. Mandan Mishra took the side of Vedic karma. Shri Adi Shankaracharya took the side of Jnana. Finally, Shri Adi Shankaracharya emerged victorious. And as soon as he emerged victorious, Mandan Mishra had to become his disciple. And the first thing that Adi Shankaracharya did was he gave sannyas to Mandan Mishra. Because there is no entry on this path without sannyas. Maybe somebody can enter, but perfection is not guaranteed without sannyas. Sannyas is needed. And that closes the doors of perfection for most of the world. There may be some exceptions, like there may be some avadhutas who may not require sannyas, but at least you need to be an avadhuta or a sannyasi. Otherwise, it is not possible. No. So for the grihasthas, the doors are closed. It is not possible. But Bhakti Yoga does not place any such stringent requirements for its practitioners. Sri Brahma says in the same 10th canto, Jnane prayasam namanta eva jivanti sanmukharitam bhavadiya vartam sthane sthitah shrutigatam danuvang manobhir ye prayashu jitopya sitraistri lokyam. Ajita, O Lord unconquerable in the three worlds, Trilokyam, you are usually conquered by those who give up all efforts in acquiring jnana and who live by paying respectful obeisances through their body, words, and mind to your narrations spoken by the saintly. Such narrations enter into their ears even if they are situated in their very positions and they have not renounced their homes. They are devotees. Sthane sthita. They might be situated in their own position in Grihastha ashram, but they are eligible for attaining perfection. You are conquered Oh Bhagavan, you are conquered by them. And once you are conquered, perfection is a maid servant waiting for them. So, dear devotees, when the Jnani hears all these differences, when the Jnani compares, finally, Bahunam Janmana Mante, after, after many births of engaging in Jnana Yoga while disregarding Bhakti Yoga, after many births, a mature Jnani, Mam Prapadyate, surrenders unto Bhagavan and takes to the path of Bhakti. And gradually, those Jnanis start disregarding the path of Jnana and start becoming more and more attracted to Bhakti. A beautiful example of this is in a verse which is composed by Srila Sridhar Svami and compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami in the Padyavali. There's a very nice story behind this verse. Srila Sridhar Swami used to stay in Kashi, Varanasi, and he had a deity of Bhagawan Narasimha Deva which he would worship every day. One day, another sannyasi from the same school of Advaita, impersonalism, came to Srila Sridhar Swami and he saw Srila Sridhar Swami worshipping this deity. And then that impersonalist sannyasi asked Sridhar Swami, why are you worshipping Pratima? Don't you know? Pratima Svalpa Buddhina, worship of the deity is for the less intelligent. Why not spend your time in meditating upon the Mahavakyas, great statements of Vedanta? Why not spend your time in studying Vedanta, discussing Vedanta? Srila Sridhar Swami kept quiet, did not say anything. After a few days, the same sannyasi came again and he asked Srila Sridhar Swami again, I want to know, why are you worshipping this personal form of Bhagavan Narasimha Deva? And while worshipping, you are chanting, the mantras of, you are chanting Narasimha Mantraj. Ugram Viram Mahavishnum Jwalantam Sarvato Mukham Nrisimham Bhishanam Bhadram Mrityam Mrityam Namamyam. Why are you worshipping like this? Instead of meditating on the impersonal absolute truth. So Srila Sridhar Swami did not reply anything. Instead, he looked at the deity and he uttered this following verse. This verse is in the meter Shikhareni. Sada sarvatraste nanu vimalam adyam tava padam तथाप्येकं स्तोकं न हि भवतारोपत्रमभिना क्षणं जिह्वाग्रस्थं तव तु भगवन्नामनिखिलम् समूलं संसारं कषति कातरसेव्यमनयो. The meter is Shikharini. This is the meter. So, Srila Sridhar Swami says, Sada sarvatraste nanu nanu. Oh Lord, he's asking Narasimhadev. Sada sarvatraste. Vimalam adyam tavapadam. Is your spotless impersonal manifestation not always present everywhere? Rhetorical question. Definitely it is. Bhagavan, you are present everywhere as the impersonal Brahman. But what has this Brahman done for me? So many lives I am spending in the material world. Ekam stokam nahi bhavataroh patram abhinat. It has not been able to break a single small leaf from the tree of repeated birth and death for me. So many lives I spent. On the other hand, Shanam, for a moment, Jivva grastham tavatu Bhagavan nama. Even if your name is uttered for a moment, that moment the tongue utters your name. The moment that name sits on the tip of the tongue, Samulam sansaram nikilam kashati. It thoroughly shatters the tree of birth and death down to its roots. Then he asks another rhetorical question. Katarat sevya manayoho. O Bhagawan, of these two, the impersonal Brahman and the holy name, which one should be served? Please tell me. Because that impersonal doesn't even have a name. We call it Brahman because we have to denote it using some name. So it doesn't have a name. So we can't chant every day Brahma, 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 Brahma and expect anything from it. Millions of lives passed, and what did this impersonal Brahman do for me? What did it do? Nothing. When people become devotees, all of you who became devotees, who knocked on your door? We are from the society, International Society of Impersonal Brahman Consciousness. Or we are from the Society of Krishna's Devotees. Who knocked on your door, dear devotees? Did Brahman knock on your door, or because Brahman cannot knock? It cannot knock on your door. Brahman is the door. Brahman cannot knock on the door. So, who knocked on your door and who gave you a book and who made you chant Bhagavan's name? It was Bhagavan through his devotees, the personal form of Bhagavan, that effected a change after millions of lives spending in this world. Dear devotees, therefore, Sridhar Swami says, now I will serve Bhagavan's name. So some Jnanis, they start disregarding and disregarding the process of Jnana and start moving towards Bhakti. Gradually, the Sampradaya of Jnani splits into two. This is specified by Shri Radhamohana Goswami. He is a Gaudiya Vaishnava commentator on the Tattva Sandarbha. Shri Radhamohana Goswami says, Bhagavatah smartah iti advaitavadi sampradaya dvayam. There are two subdivisions in the sampradaya of the impersonalist Advaitavadis. What are the two divisions? He says Bhagavatah. The first is the Bhagavat branch, in which Bhakti is predominant. So they are Advaitavadis, but they have predominance of Bhakti in them. And Smartah. The second branch is the Smarta, in which Gyan is predominant. And then he says, Tatra Bhagavata Sampradayantargatah Sridhar Svami. And Srila Sridhar Swami belongs to the Bhagavat branch of the Advaita Sampradaya. Because Sri Jiva Goswami in the Tattva Sandarbha takes up a discussion on Srila Sridhar Swami. He gives a statement or two on Srila Sridhar Swami. Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan says, Sridhar Swami to Vaishnava eva. Sridhar Swami is definitely a Vaishnava. But then how is he a Vaishnava if he is an impersonalist? So Sri Radhamohana Goswami clarifies that amongst impersonalists there are two schools. One is the Bhagavat school and one is the Smarta school. And the Bhagavat school is that which starts neglecting Gyan and is now gradually taking to the path of Bhakti. Bhakti is becoming predominant. They are not yet Jnana Vimukta, not yet fully freed from Gyan. They are giving up Gyan, but they are taking up Bhakti as the predominant path of perfection for themselves. Sridhar Swami belongs to the Bhagavad branch of the Advaita Sampradaya. There are many like Sridhar Swami. I had also given the example of, in one of the classes, I had given the example of a recent personality, Shri Akhandananda Saraswati, and I had shown a photograph of him with Srila Prabhupada, doing Kirtan with Srila Prabhupada. He used to stay in Kashi, and his guru, he used to take a lot of shiksha from Swami Karpatri, who was an impersonalist in Kashi. But he got attracted to Srimad Bhagavatam. Especially he got attracted to a commentary on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This commentary was by Sri Harisuri. So once he got attracted to this commentary on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he was very eager to explore that commentary. And he read the Srimad Bhagavatam in great detail and ended up shifting to Sri Vrindavan. So he remained a Jnani, but he was giving up Gyan, and gradually he was taking up Bhakti. And finally, he spent his entire life in Sri Vrindavan and followed Bhakti, which was mixed with Gyan. Bhakti prominent, Gyan not so prominent. And he also had the opportunity to meet Srila Prabhupada and perform Kirtan with Srila Prabhupada. You can see Swami Akhandanand Saraswati sitting with Srila Prabhupada, and the disciples of Srila Prabhupada are performing Kirtan in the background. Noteworthy is His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj, you can see behind Srila Prabhupada. So you can see. So these are some examples of Jnanis who start taking to the path of Bhakti. Jnana is becoming less prominent, Bhakti is becoming more prominent. Now, gradually the Jnani realizes there is something in Bhakti which is not at all there in Jnana. And what is there in Bhakti which is not at all there in Jnana? It is ras. There is absolute lack of ras in Brahman realization. You can call it Shanta ras, but the term Shanta itself means, mellowed down. Mellowed down, mellow. That's what you can say. Shanti is mellowed down. So, Shantras, mellowed down, mellow. The Jnani wants to also relish Bhakti ras. Therefore, Jnani is like Shukadev Goswami, etc. Atmaramas chamunayo nirgrantha pyurukrame kurvantya haitukim bhaktim itham bhuta gunohari. There's that famous verse in Srimad Bhagavatam that Atmaramas chamunayo, even liberated, self-satisfied Jnanis like Shukadev Goswami also want to perform bhakti, ahaituki bhakti, causeless bhakti. Itham bhuta gunohari. Our Hari has such qualities, such rasa within him, that the Jnanis also want to relish that particular rasa. The Jnani becomes eager for bhakti ras. And there's a very nice verse in the Padyavali. The Jnani realizes that it is a mistake to give up bhakti. This verse from the Padyavali is very nice. Bhakti hi seva bhagavato muktis tatpadalanghanam ko moodho dasatam prapya prabhavam padamichhati. Bhakti hi seva bhagavato. What is bhakti? Bhakti is Bhagavan seva, service towards Bhagavan. And muktis, whereas what is mukti? Impersonal liberation. Tat pada langhanam is to disregard such a service opportunity. Ko mudho, who is that fool? Dasatam prapya, who has attained service, and prabhavam padam ichhati, and still wants to attain impersonal liberation. Who's that fool who wants to attain impersonal liberation even after having attained service towards Bhagavan? This is the realization of the mature Jnani, who has now transitioned into bhakti gradually. You will not find examples in Shastra of those who were pure devotees and later became impersonalists. You will not find. You will be hard pressed to find that such and such person was a pure devotee. He had, he was doing Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, and suddenly he gave up all that and became fixed in impersonal understanding. No. But you will find umpteen number of examples of individuals who were previously impersonalist in their outlook and later became attracted to Bhagavad Bhakti, later took up the path of Bhakti. So the transition is one way usually. Well, many Jnanis don't get this good fortune. Many Jnanis remain fixed in their impersonal understanding. And if they have some respect for Bhakti, but if their Jnana is more prominent, then they may attain the impersonal Brahman and they will remain there after attaining the impersonal Brahman. But the fortunate ones, those who have attained sadhu sangha, those who have attained association of the devotees, they will finally give up Gyan. This verse from the Padyavali is by Shri Raghupati Upadhyay. This verse is the key that opens the secret. I had kept a secret in this presentation. I had said I will reveal later. Do you remember, Thameshwar Mahaprabhu Prabhu, what I said I would reveal later?
Yes, why Brahma made this statement about how jnana without bhakti is just like beating empty husks.
Wonderful. Thank you, bro. Therefore, I like you so much. You're always attentive during the course of the presentation. Sri Raghupati Upadhyay composes a beautiful verse in the meter Arya. Shrutayah palal kalpa, Shrutayah palal kalpa, Kimiha vayam sampratam chinuma, Kimiha vayam sampratam chinuma, Ahriyata puraiva nayanayr, Ahriyata puraiva nayanayr, Abhirive param brahma, Abhirive param brahma. Shrutayah palal kalpa. The Shrutis, the Upanishads and other, Vedanta, etc., are now like empty husks of rice. Kimiha vayam sampratam chinuma. What could we possibly extract from them now? Why? Why did the Upanishads, the main literature of the Jnanis, why is it appearing to you like empty husks of rice? Because by executing bhakti, puraiva nayanair ahriyata, the essential seed of the Upanishads, what is the bij? The Supreme Brahman Krishna, ahriyata, has already been stolen away by the eyes of the gopis of Sri Vrindavan. Therefore, unless one serves these residents of Sri Vrindavan, and unless one performs Bhakti Yoga by following in their footsteps, any so-called cultivation of Gyan is simply like beating empty husks of rice. Because the seed is already taken away by those who are practicing Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, Brahma says, Tesham asau kleshala eva labhyate. Sthula tushavaghātina. Their labor is like the labor of somebody who's beating empty husks of rice. There was a reason why Sri Brahma gave that comparison. The seed, the main ingredient, the main entity within all the literature is Bhagawan Shri Krishna. And if he is taken away from Vedic literature, then what remains in the study of such Vedic literature? The beauty of Vedic literature is lost as soon as Bhagawan is removed from them. As soon as the personal form, name, qualities, and pastimes of Bhagawan are removed from them. Then what will you study? Impersonal Brahman. That empty husk of rice. Therefore, the Jnani realizes, now I will switch. I will give up this path of Jnana Yoga and I will take fully to Bhakti now. And dear devotees, Tebhyo Jnana Vimukta Bhakti Parama. At this point of time, he comes closer to Bhagavan because he has given up the endeavor for Jnana and he has now taken fully to the path of Bhakti. And now, if impersonal liberation comes anywhere near him, he will never accept the invitation to merge in the impersonal Brahman. I would like to conclude with this sweet verse from Sri Padyavali. Tatvam muktirupagatasmi bhavati kasmadiha Shri Krishna smaranena deva bhavati dasi padam prapita dure tishta managaragasi katham kuryadanaryam mayi त्वद्गन्धान् निजनामचन्दनरसा लेपस्य लोपो भवेत्. There is a knock on the door. Who's there? Katvam. Mukti Rupagata Asmi. I am Mukti in personal liberation who have come here. Bhavati Kasmad Akasmadihya. How come you are here suddenly? Dev, oh Lord. Mukti is saying to this, Jnani who has now become a devotee. Dev, oh Lord. Shri Krishna Smaranena. Recently, you have taken to the path of bhakti, and by your remembrance of Shri Krishna, after millions of lives, Bhavati Dasi Padam Prapita, I have now decided to become your maid servant. Dure Tishta, stay away. Managanagasi Katham Kuryad, Anaryam, why are you turning me? Anagasi, I am a faultless person now. I gave up that path. Why are you making me Anarya again? Why are you making me a wretched soul again? Get away. I'll not open the door. Tvat Gandhan, even if a small, tiny fragrance of you enters, which means if I start associating with you in my mind, even for a tiny little bit, Nija Naam Chandana Rasa Alepasya Lopo Bhavet. My own name and my own identity as Das is like a fragrant sandalwood paste. That fragrance will be lost again from my life. I don't want that to happen. I'm sorry for millions of lives I did not understand. But now I understood. I'm really sorry, Bhagawan. And I will never again aim for this impersonal liberation. With this, he becomes Jnana Vimukta Bhakti Parama. Dear devotees, he has come closer to Bhagavan. With this understanding, after Bahunam Janmanamante, after many, many lives of thinking in terms of Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi, then he has come to the understanding that I am supposed to follow in the footsteps of the residents of Sri Vrindavan. By this understanding, he has come closer to Bhagavan, dear devotees. Thank you very much. Yadatra Skhalitam Kinchit, Vidvam Sahapurayantu Tat. Yadatra Saushthavam Kinchit, Tad Guru Reva Me Nahi. Yadatra Skhalitam Kinchit. If there was any mistake in the presentation, dear devotees, Vidvam Sahi or learned devotees, Purayantu Tat. Please correct those mistakes within your mind. But Yadatra Saushthavam Kinchit. If there's anything nice, Tad Guru Reva, it belongs to my Guru Janas. Me nahi, it doesn't belong to me. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Thank you, Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. If we want to find real enlightenment, then we need to go to a devotee of the Lord and not to a Jnani with dry speculative knowledge. So that's why we're basking in your sunshine here with these wonderful classes. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Before we go to questions and answers, there's a announcement. We're moving closer and closer to the end of our series. We're on talk 54 now, and there's no requirement. This is a free course for everyone. We appreciate everyone who's here, and we appreciate your Sangha so much. But we just want to give an opportunity for anyone who would like to give a donation for the classes to Hari Parshad Prabhu. You can contact Parama Karuna Prabhu from Portland. His number is shown here on the screen. So please make sure you get the right number if you wish to donate. And alternatively, if you don't, if you're not in the WhatsApp group or you have trouble finding that number, you can also send an email to upadeshamritam@gmail.com. So just please take note of the spelling there. And then Parama Karuna Prabhu will contact you, and you won't be contacted by anyone else besides him. So that opportunity is there if you'd like to reciprocate with the classes. Any other notes on that point, Prabhuji?
Completely voluntary, and in case somebody doesn't want to or is not in a capacity to reciprocate, or somebody has already given and they think, yeah, it's, they've already given, then also it's that's okay. Someone who cannot give anything or someone who can give something, both of them are equal in this particular series of talks on Sri Upadeshamritam. So it is completely voluntary and unconditional. So that is what it is.
So we'll put a poll on the Upadeshamrita thread, and it'll give the option. I haven't donated yet, and I'd like to, and so you can just put your name there if you're in the thread, and then Parama Karuna Prabhu will contact you. And if you're not in the thread, then you can just use this number or email to contact him. And with that, before questions and answers, if you want to join the WhatsApp group, then you can also send email to this email address, and we will add you.
Yeah. Specify your WhatsApp number in that email. Just not to say that I want to be a part of the group. So then just also devotee should specify the number in that email so that you
My
can
number?
be added. No. Those who send an email, they should specify their
number.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah,
because sometimes some individuals are sending an email and saying, I want to be a part of the group. That's all right, but what's your WhatsApp number? So that is required.
Great. All right, so we'll go to questions and answers. And first of all, we ask that your questions are related to today's class rather than just whatever happens to be on your mind. And if it's a very, very specific question, maybe about a particular word or syllable in a commentary, that might be better suited for the WhatsApp group, where Prabhuji can, or any devotee who answers can look that up for the careful consideration that's required. We want to be careful about bringing up particular people, devotees, or others, or institutions in our questions, so that the questions aren't loaded or political in nature, and we want to just speak in principle. And lastly, try to keep things short and be considerate of time for other people. You can always come back and ask another question later, but try to avoid taking over the Q&A. All right, anything else, Prabhuji?
Yeah, so this the most important thing is that the series of talks on Upadeshamritam is not supposed to promote or critique any particular individual or institution. All the Q&A that goes in the WhatsApp group, as well as that which happens here, it is done with the intention of not promoting or critiquing any particular person or any particular institution. or any particular group within the institution. So that is what should be carefully noted. Even in the WhatsApp group, it should be carefully noted. So thank you very much. Let's begin.
First of all, we have Madhav Tripati Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Ma'am.
Thank you so much for this systematic display of how Bhakti is superior to Jnani Yoga and how Jnani is fed up with Bhakti, his Gyan Prayas, and then he finally takes to Bhakti. So thank you so much for this. So Prabhuji, my question is, you mentioned a particular point that is there a person who has taken up Bhakti and who has become a pure devotee, has taken up the process of Shravanam Kirtanam, and has reverted to Gyan Yoga or towards Mukti. So Prabhuji, I have one confusion on this particular thing. Like there is this history of Mirabai merging with the deity of the Giridhari Gopal. So can you clarify this particular point, because she was totally engaged in devotional service and she had attained the stages of prema, bhava prema. So how could that be there?
See, there are many who wish to. I don't know if the specific history of her merging into the deity or how reliable it is. Many people say that this happened. These sorts of incidents are known as Kim Vadanti. Kim Vadanti, who said, we don't know. So it is why it is called Kim Vadanti. So we don't know whether that is what happened, or even even let's say it happened. There are many who practice Bhakti Yoga, but at the finally when presented with a choice of the various types of liberation, they may want to attain impersonal liberation. That is a possibility, because Bhakti Yoga can allow you to attain even that sort of liberation. No problem in that. But a person who's practicing Bhakti Yoga does not end up reverting back to Jnana Yoga. It does not end up taking to Vedanta, meditating on the statements of Upanishads, etc. So even if, let's say, a particular devotee by their practice of Bhakti Yoga wanted to merge into Bhagawan, still the process they took for it was Bhakti Yoga. And from Bhakti Yoga, they will not revert to Jnana Yoga. Anyways, in the case of Mirabai, there is no history of her ever being a Jnana Yogi per se. There is no history of her. Also, it is difficult for ladies in general to enter into the path. There are very few of them who manage to enter. So it is difficult in general for them to attain eligibility to enter that path. So for most of the ladies, the path, even if they want to merge with the impersonal Brahman, they have to follow the path of Bhakti Yoga. And at the very end, in their mind, they should keep that thought that, I want to merge with the Supreme Absolute Truth. But such a thought of performing Bhakti Yoga in order to merge is not considered as very elevated by our acharyas. Not only our acharyas, by many other acharyas. There is a very nice verse in Padyavali, which is spoken by Shri Hanuman. So it is a verse by Shri Hanuman, and I will try to bring a particular verse, and I'll share my screen. This is Padyavali 111, and I will share my screen with you so that you can see this particular verse. It's a very nice verse where Shri Hanuman is saying something. Shri Hanuman says, Bhava bandha chide tasyai sprihayami namuktaye bhavan prabhur aham dasah iti yatra vilupyate. So, Bhava bandha chide tasyai. I do not pray for any liberation in which Bhavan Prabhu, that you are the Prabhu, and Aham Dasa, that I am the servant. Iti yatra vilupyate. That this feeling will be lost. So, Sri Hanuman, he says, Bhava bandha chide tasyai sprihayami na muktaye bhavan prabhur aham dasa iti yatra vilupyate. So even Sri Hanuman looks down upon this particular type of liberation, where the feeling that you are Lord and I am the servant, this feeling is lost. So our acharyas and many other personalities, many other devotees do not like this type of a liberation. So that is that is what I would like to say in reply to your query. I hope this satisfies.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Next, we have Radhika Vallabha Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Hariparshatru, for such a beautiful class about the path of Jnana Marga and Bhakti Marga. In the course of the class, you mentioned how the Jnanis realize that Jnana without Bhakti is actually will not lead to perfection, and then they start practicing Bhakti. And then you also mentioned Shloka, how the Bhakti is completely independent. Bhakti does not depend on anything else. So in this regard, uh, like in a practical life of a devotee, on a practical level, like so much of time goes in some aspects of jnana or some aspects of karma, not the impersonal jnana. For example, suppose so much of time goes in, say, it could be studying, say, modern education, school, college education. Some or so much of time goes in some aspects of Vedic education, for example, say Vyakarana or some aspects of say Nyaya, especially when we want to study Vedanta Sutra like that. So some in the Samanya Shastra, so much of study goes, and these things they don't contain actually. They are not directly related to bhakti. They may be part of the Vedic study, and also so much of time goes in a lot of karma. It could be it could be occupation in our for earning money or different other things. So how do we ensure that our bhakti does not depend on jnana and karma? Yeah, definitely a devotee is not into impersonal jnana, but these other aspects of jnana, how do we maintain the independence of the bhakti or the purity of bhakti while we are spending time in these aspects of jnana and karma?
Thank you, Prabhu. This is a nice question. It is answered by Shri Jiva Goswami in the commentary to Anyabhilashita Shunyam. When he says Jnana Karmadi Anavritam, Shri Jiva Goswami says Jnanam. What is the meaning of Jnana for devotees? He says Nirbheda Brahmanusandhanam. What sort of Jnana is to be avoided? Nirbheda, the impersonal Brahman, which is non-differentiated, that sort of Jnana is to be avoided completely by the devotees. He says, Natu bhajaniya tatvanusandhanam api. You don't have to avoid Jnana which is related to your anusandhan, to your research of bhakti, which in any way is related to your research of bhakti. Why? Answer is tasya avashya apekshaniyatvat, because such knowledge is definitely expected from you. And karma, what sort of karma does a devotee not perform? The devotee does not perform smriti adi uktam nitya naimityaka, just pure Vedic karma devoid of bhakti. That sort of karma you're not supposed to perform. But natu, it's not that you're also not supposed to perform bhajaniya paricharya, Vedic karma which is required for your bhajan. Why? He says tasya tad anushilan rupatva. Such karma is nothing but bhakti anushilan, Krishna anushilan, nothing else. So the jnana of a devotee is nothing but it is used as decoration for his bhakti. And whatever jnana a devotee studies, nyaya, mimamsa, or Vedanta, etc., you can see how Srila Jiva Goswami has used his knowledge of Vedanta, Nyaya, Mimamsa, etc. Wherever you will see Sri Jiva Goswami using his knowledge of Vedanta, Nyaya, etc., it's not to prove his scholarship. It's to show that either bhakti is superior, or to show that Bhagavan's personal form is superior, or to, to glorify Bhakti Devi, or to glorify a devotee, or to glorify Bhagavan. And similarly, whatever Vedic karma is performed, suppose you perform a Narasimha Yagya, suppose you perform a particular, every morning we take a bath, it's a Nitya karma. So it's performed because it is bhajan paricharya, it is part of one's bhajan. It becomes tad anushilana rupatvat, it becomes bhakti anushilan, it becomes practice of bhakti. So this is how we look at our day-to-day activities. Let's say there is some activity which is not directly, some karma which is not directly related to bhakti, like going to an office and earning money. Then you have Arop Siddha Bhakti, and that will also help you. So that those options are also there for those karma which is not directly bhakti. So that is, I hope this satisfies your query.
Next we have Mahesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Danat Pranams. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the beautiful class. Prabhuji, I had a general request, if it can be considered, regarding the Prabhuji WhatsApp group. Just wanted to really share that sometimes in the WhatsApp group, those some like the post and which are the questions going on these days are very beautiful and very discussions are very nice and the posts are very important. So it's just a request, if it can be considered, if we can use like Telegram, maybe for devotees it can help, because sometimes the old messages in WhatsApp are not like getting opened up, and like files are lost or something like that. And Telegram has a cloud kind of a thing, so it is saved like someone changes the phone. It just a request, if it can be considered. I don't know, maybe if WhatsApp has more options. So just wanted to share, because all these posts I feel are very important, and after a long time, like years and years,
I
can
think
use that.
probably if you change your
Like
settings
just
that you can have all the posts saved and even upload it to a cloud.
No, he's saying that those who have joined later,
okay,
they
you're
don't.
doing that, Prabhuji.
Oh, who are joining later. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
those who join later, they don't get to see the posts that were there earlier. So maybe some devotee from the group who has been since the beginning can, volunteer to uh, compile all the Q&A in a document, and, upload it to a public link on Google Drive. And then maybe some of it can also go into the transcription of the book. So, Manjari Mataji said, I'm saving all the chats to include in the transcripts. All right, wonderful. So Manjari Mataji has all the chats everywhere.
Such wonderful service.
Yes.
I get all the credit, but she's doing so much more than me.
100%, Manjari Mataji. Thank you so much for, doing so much for the transcription seva. We are really very grateful to you. Mataji, really very grateful. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you so much for the opportunity of seva, and it's just so valuable. I wanted to keep it, but the way I'm doing it is I'm putting everything to the matching class. So if someone asks retrospectively about a previous class, I'm adding that section of the WhatsApp chat to that class, so it's not linear.
Oh, wonderful, Mataji. That level of attention to detail, it shows your expertise. I'm very thankful for that.
Hare Krishna.
I have a question, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
I was a little confused by the title Jnani. It almost seems like a misnomer, because when I think of knowledge, I think understanding of the nature of reality, how things are, how things work. And so you mentioned so many misconceptions of the Jnani. So how is it that we call them a Jnani when they have such misconceptions?
Right. So once again, we call them Jnani because they are having proper conception of the impersonal Brahman. And the path which they have taken is the path of study and meditation. Therefore, they are known as Jnanis. The misconception that they have, some of them have, not all of them, is that they will be able to attain perfection without bhakti. And therefore, when Sri Brahma says in the 10th canto that he says that those who those who become, even if they become liberated, patantyadho nadrita yushmadang yenyera vindaksha vimuk tvayasta bhavad avishuddha buddhaya. He uses the term avishuddha buddha. He may be so-called Jnani, but his intelligence is still not pure. Actually speaking, a Jnani is somebody who has Brahma Gyan, but who knows the importance of bhakti in his attainment of Brahma Gyan. Let me ask a very simple question. Many people say Gyan or knowledge of scriptures is required for bhakti. So, without knowledge of scriptures, you cannot attain bhakti. So, before bhakti comes Gyan. Is it not so?
Yes, it's so.
But the Jnani doesn't realize the mistake here is that before Gyan comes bhakti. How so? Because in order to learn those scriptures, he has to approach a guru and he has to render service to the guru, render bhakti to the guru before he can learn the scriptures. Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tatha gurau tasyaite kathita hyartha prakashante mahatmana. The imports of the Shastra are revealed only to a person who shows simultaneous bhakti in the Supreme Absolute Truth and in the Guru. So first comes Shraddha in the Guru. And Shraddha is nothing but a form of bhakti. Therefore, first comes bhakti. Then out of that bhakti, he goes to the Guru and renders bhakti to that Guru. Then the Guru teaches him Gyan. Like in Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna says to Arjun, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. What are the three things that Krishna asks Arjun to do while approaching a guru? Pranipat, first fall down like a stick. This is bhakti. Pariprashna, then ask your queries. And third is sevaya, for render service. Service is nothing but bhakti. The verbal root bhaj is nothing, bhaj sevayam is nothing but it is used for service. So first render service to that guru, first render bhakti to the guru. Then upadekshanti te jnanam. Then that guru will give you jnana. Jnaninas tattva darshina. Now having known this, what comes first, Prabhu? Bhakti or jnana?
Bhakti.
Bhakti comes first. Because unless we have guru bhakti, there is no question of entrance on the path of jnana. That is what it is. So actually speaking, jnana is living on the strength of guru bhakti. That is the conclusion. Okay.
So it might not be bhakti quite as we conceive it, but some sort of bhakti. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes, some sort of bhakti has to be there in order to lend support to Gyan. Otherwise, Gyan on its own cannot survive. If you don't have Guru Bhakti, there is no possibility of entering into Gyan. It's very clear.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Next we have Kamala Devi Dasi, Mataji, and Kamniya Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances to Damodar Prabhu and all the Vaishnavas who are here. I'm really grateful to all of you because not only the discussion that Prabhu brings and gives all the nourishment and nectar that we can relish throughout the week, but apart from that, the questions that all of you ask, they give us deeper and deeper knowledge of the subject matter. I'm really grateful to all of you. So, Prabhuji, I have a question. Like, if we know someone who is on Jnana Marg who is working hard to learn Vedas, read Vedas. And so is there any way that we can reform them or transform them into bhakti? Because it's such a tedious process, and as we have some affection towards them, so we want them to, cut short their route. So is there any way that we can, reform them or transform them? That's my question. Hare Krishna.
Reformation or transformation is needed for somebody who's on an incorrect path. The Jnani is not on an incorrect path. He's on a correct path because he's following the Vedic path. He is on his level of adhikar, eligibility. Now you want to suddenly increase his eligibility and bring him to the path of, direct Bhakti Yoga. That can happen if the person who is speaking to the Jnani is so realized that he may be able to answer the queries of the Jnani. When does a person improve in their adhikar? When certain knots in the heart are resolved and certain new realizations are attained. That happens either with time, because time is a very good teacher, or it happens when a sanshaya granthana chedi, somebody who is able to cut the knots of the heart, such a person arrives in one's life. So, if we can play the role of that person who can sever the knots of doubt in the heart of the Jnani, then the Jnani will say, well, I accept what you are saying and now I am, a bhakti yogi. But unless we meet that person, we will not be able to make sure that his adhikar improves. I gave the example of Swami Akhandanand Saraswati. Initially he started with Jnana Yoga, pure Jnana Yoga. Later he found the commentary Bhakti Rasayanam of Sri Hariswari. And then he started reading from that commentary. And maybe some points of the commentary, some rasa that flowed from the commentary, and that convinced him. So, but still, that attachment to Gyan did not completely go away. But still, it affected him to such a level that he ended up shifting to Vrindavan and made his ashram there, and practiced a healthy dose of Bhakti Yoga along with his Gyan practice. So, at least the commentary helped him. See, Sri Harisuri was personally not present, but his commentary was present. So, the commentary helped him, come to the path of Bhakti to a good extent. Now, if a person is present, like imagine if somebody of the caliber of Sri Jiva Goswami is present, I can guarantee you, many impersonalists in Vrindavan will take to the path of Bhakti. 100% guarantee. Many impersonalists will take to the path of Bhakti. Because for a person of the caliber of Sri Jiva Goswami, he will easily convince, individuals. And on top of that, Sri Jiva Goswami also has the strength to the caliber to give them an experience of Bhakti Ras. So not only why you should give up your Gyan Adhikar, but why you should take up Bhakti is also a question of experience. Because people usually change when they have an experience. And that experience of Ras is given usually by a person who is a Rasik. So that sort of a personality is Sri Jiva Goswami. So some Brahma Gyani may come to Sri Jiva Goswami and say, the impersonal Brahman is, it has so much joy within it. And then Sri Jiva Goswami will immediately compose a verse on the spot. Yadamita rasa shastre vyanjivaidagya vrindam tadanamapi navetum kalpate kamiloka tadakilamapi yasya prema sindau na kinchin मिथुनमजित गोपी रूप में तद्विभाति. All the beauty of the world described by the poets, it cannot be experienced by a mundane lusty person. But all that is experienced by the poets, it is nothing in front of the joyous ocean of rasa of Shri Shri Radha Krishna. And then Sri Jiva Goswami may give a big elaboration on why it is so. people will be convinced. That's what you need. So what can we do? What we can do is, we can be a devotee of such a caliber that people simply by interacting with us, people will have that experience. Like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to say, the best devotee is he who simply when he chants Bhagwan's Naam, it induces other people to take up the process of chanting Bhagwan's Naam. Because people not only see this, what is special in this person? People see that this person is actually, he's living the life of, the Anand, the Bhakti Ras Anand, the joyous experience of Bhakti Ras. And people want to have that. Who doesn't want Ras? Raso Vaisaha, Rasam hi eva labdva anandi bhavati. Only on attaining Ras does a Jiva finally become happy. This Jnani also wants Ras. Therefore, if somebody can give that Jnani Bhakti Ras, and then by giving that Bhakti Ras, the Jnani will finally change. So that is what it is. Right? Thank you. But if it is just like a newcomer on the path of Gyan, then you may be able to change his inclination by giving a few arguments. But if you are a seasoned Jnani, you need a experience of Bhakti Ras in order to change him. But you see, it's as I said, we are not on a mission to change people. We have confidence that Bhakti Yoga has the strength to change people. So we just do what we have to do. If we are not on that level of strength, what we can do is we can give them a book, invite them to come to the temple. And if they have good fortune, they will understand. Sometimes unexpected things can change Jnanis. They can come to the temple, they hear Govindam Adi Purusham, and the way it is sung, it may invoke a sentiment in them and they may become a devotee. We never know. But the actual thing which will enforce a change in them is an experience of Bhakti Ras. That's what changed Sri Shukdev Goswami also. When Sri Vyasadeva sent out his disciples and taught the Srimad Bhagavatam to Shukdev Goswami, what changed in Shukdev Goswami is that Sri Shukdev Goswami had an experience of Bhakti Ras. And that is what makes all the difference in the life of a Jnani. He can never have that Ras in his impersonal monistic practice. And so he has to make a choice at one point of time. What do you want? You want to chew on the dry husk of impersonal knowledge, or you want the sweet pomegranate seeds of Bhakti Ras? So that's what he selects. Right?
Thank you so much for the
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Next we have Parama Karuna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. On the previous topic that we were discussing, that from Bhakti comes Gyan, I was reminded of this one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, if you may allow, I can share. And I think it is in this context. Please correct me if that is not the case. It's from Canto 1, Chapter 5, verse number 35, where Narad Muni is giving his instructions to Vyasadeva. And there he says, Yadatra kriyate karma bhagavat paritoshanam jnanam yattad adhinam hi bhakti yoga samanvitam. So that, the understanding I get from here is that whatever bhakti that we do for bhagavat paritoshanam, jnana arises from that and is adhina, is subservient to that bhakti yoga. Yes. And that is the gyan that the bhakti yogi gets by performing bhakti.
Right. Wonderful.
Just connecting that.
Wonderful. This is, you wanted to give a reflection on what was said, right? It's not a query, it's a reflection.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Or if my reflection is incorrect, then please correct me.
And it's a very nice reflection. Important here is the reflection was given after Vyasadeva was dissatisfied. After the entire episode is where Sri Vyasadeva is thoroughly dissatisfied with everything else, trying out Vedanta Sutra, trying out, giving out all the other knowledge. And then Sri Vyasadeva is dissatisfied. And then Sri Narad Muni comes to him and says, are you happy associating with the body and the mind? Are you happy keeping your, intellectual pursuits on your mental and bodily level? And Sri Vyasdev says, actually, I'm feeling thoroughly dissatisfied. And then he says, Gyan should be a concomitant factor in Bhagavad Bhakti. Ultimately, the Jiva wants ras. Ultimately, the Jiva doesn't want a mental exercise, a false display of mental exercise to prove that, I am one with the Brahman. After becoming one with the Brahman also, the desire is that we will have an experience. So that is the reason why many of them want to merge with the impersonal Brahman. So because the desire for experience is so high, therefore the best experience that we had is through Bhakti Ras. And everything else should be a subservient to that. And that is what, Sri Narad Muni is saying. It's very well. It's in a particular context, and it was only given to Vyasdev after Vyasdev was thoroughly dissatisfied, doing everything else. And if Vyasadeva is dissatisfied after composing Vedanta Sutra, what to speak of those people who read? What is the expectation that people who read Vedanta Sutra will be satisfied? I shared, once I had shared with you a booklet called as Adhunik Vedant Se Savdhan, Beware of Modern Vedanta.
Yes, by Ram Sukdas ji.
Yes.
Or,
So he was an impersonalist, and at the end of that document, there are some quotes. He says, I have completely lost my trust on studying Vedanta. I have been teaching it for decades now. I lost my trust on teaching Vedanta and studying Vedanta. So, and finally, at the end of that, he quotes the verse from the Bhagavatam. Ye niravindaksha vimuktamaninas tvayasta bhavada vishuddha buddha ayurya krichrena param padam patantyadho. But after spending decades in impersonal knowledge, he came to the same conclusion that was given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Hence proved that, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, they showed us the most auspicious path to be followed in the human form of life. All right. Thank you, Prabhu.
And even you mentioned, you showed in towards the end, he says in that document, fortunate are those who have never come in contact with this impersonal knowledge, something like that.
Yeah, he says, those who have not studied Vedanta, you are more fortunate than those who have studied, because those who have studied, you have ruined yourself. So that's his conclusion after decades of studying, Vedanta.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Next, we have Omkar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dhanavad Pranam. Thank you for the presentation, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, I had a question in the follow-up of like Radhika Prabhu's question. As devotees, we have a different temperament. So some devotees would like to study Bhagavatam or the philosophical part of the bhakti, along with its rasa also. So sometimes there is a feeling in the heart that the person or the devotee is only looking for some philosophical analysis, which is basically proving bhakti or basically related to bhakti, rather than, let's say, other limbs of bhakti. So what is, you could say, the boundary where it may, let's say, go from bhakti to I don't know, but maybe not pure bhakti, I would say, because bhakti basically involves seva.
It's incorrect to think that research into Bhagawan is not seva. It's very incorrect to say that. Is in the Bhakti Sandarbha, you might have heard of the terms Ruchi Pradhan and
Yes.
Vichar
Yes.
Pradhan. What is the meaning of Vichar Pradhan and Ruchi Pradhan? Please tell me.
Vichar Pradhan Bhakta will be basically a devotee who basically studies each and every step and tries to analyze and go further. As compared to the Ruchi Pradhana Bhakta, who basically gets attracted to a particular form of Bhagavan and then he starts performing bhakti.
So both Vichar Pradhan and Ruchi Pradhan are within the ambit of Bhakti Yogis, right?
Yes.
So that answers your query.
but it would follow that such a person, because there Jiva Goswami also says that a Ruchi Pradhan Bhakta is more, in a way, appreciated by Jiva Goswami than a Vichar Pradhan Bhakta.
Yeah, wonderful. That's Sri Jiva Goswami specifying who is dearer to him. That's all right. That's good. But, both are within the ambit of bhakti. A devotee who likes to research and know everything in detail, because love is in the details. And Sri Jiva Goswami will ensure that by the time he comes to Priti Sandarbha, he will definitely get, attached also to relishing a particular type of relationship with Bhagavan. So I hope that answers your query.
Yes, true. Because sometimes just a feeling comes up in our heart that we are not doing seva of Bhagavan, or maybe other limbs. So it sometimes create a little, like a kind of uncomfortable feeling within us.
Yeah. So you don't need to be uncomfortable when some things are approved by the acharyas. It's okay. So you can be comfortable. But in a big gathering of devotees, when people are judging you and those who don't know Ruchi Pradhan, Vichar Pradhan, you have to be the okay man. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm like that. No problem. You have to be the okay man. Try to understand. Because bhakti, finally, one thing you have to understand, and it's a very important thing. When we perform bhakti in a group of individuals, in a big group of individuals, it is very likely that once you fall out of grace, so when some people start looking down upon you, you will quickly be forgotten. Try to think of those people who in the society did something negative, how quickly they were forgotten very quickly, right? And all their achievements reduced to zero, and they are now nobodies. But Bhagavan doesn't forget. Try to understand that a person who has fallen out of grace, out of a big society, that person can also continue to execute Bhakti Yoga. Because finally, what matters is what Bhagavan thinks about that particular devotee. So when we are practicing our bhakti, the only people who mainly the approval is needed from the Guru Janas that we are practicing correctly. Once we have approval from the Guru Janas, other people may say 100 things, and we may sometimes have to be the okay man. That that is okay. That's what. And when people praise you also in a society, it should not be taken as an indication of some great success. That now 100 people are praising me, and therefore I must be doing something correct. You may be doing something very incorrect and still attract the praises of hundreds of people. And you may be doing something very correct and still attract the criticism of hundreds of people. The deciding factor is not the masses. The deciding factor is what is given in the Shastra and what is approved by the Guru Janas. That is how we should live our lives.
Yes, thank you for that.
Thank you. I have another question, Prabhuji. I was confused in the presentation when you mentioned about you defined jnana as knowledge of Brahman and knowledge of Atma and how those are one. It seems to be mutually exclusive with the idea that the jnani should have some regard for bhakti, which means they have some idea of Bhagavan. If they conceive of the absolute truth as just who I am, it's just oneness, how can they have any idea of Bhagavan? And if they don't have any idea of Bhagavan, how can there be bhakti?
Oh, wonderful. This opens the gate to explaining a new philosophical concept in Jnana Yoga. So the Jnanis, they see the world on 3 layers of reality. And I will explain these 3 layers of reality so that it becomes easy for devotees to understand what it is. So the 3 layers of existence are, according to a Jnani, the first is known as Pratibhasik Satta, which means, for example, in the material world, you mistake a rope for a snake. The material world is already false. And in this false material world, you imagine another falsity. This is an example of pratibhasik satta. Second is known as vyavaharik satta. Existence which is real in the material world, real in the immediate reality, but not ultimate reality. For example, all the objects that you see in front of you, they are on this level of existence. They are not ultimately, this is from the Jnani's point of view. They are not ultimately real, but immediately they are appearing real to you. And third is known as paramarthik satta. So this is ultimate reality. And this is only one, that is Brahman. When you are executing Bhakti Yoga, you are executing Bhakti Yoga on which level of reality? That is Vyavaharik Satta. So, Bhagawan is there, immediately for the time being, who is for them, who is Krishna and who is Ram and who is Narasimha Varaha. The impersonal Brahman has taken a form in Sattva Guna, in the mode of goodness. And ultimately, these forms are also, therefore, I don't want to complete the sentence. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would call me an aparadhi. I'm sorry, but you understand what I'm trying to say. So, all the Bhakti Yoga, everything is not Paramarthik Satta. The Bhakti Yoga practice of all of that is Vyavaharik Satta. Then, in order that you will finally attain the level of reality of Paramarthik Satta. Satta means level of reality. So, Pratibhasik, even in the material world, if there is some mistake, that is Pratibhasik, or some dreams in the material world, that is Pratibhasik Satta. Vyavaharik is what is real in the material world, but not ultimately real. And Paramarthik is what is ultimately real and real even right now. Real in all the times. That is Paramarthik Satta. So if a Jnani executes Bhakti Yoga, it's not that he suddenly changes from non-duality to duality. No. He says that I am practicing duality temporarily on the platform of Vyavaharik Satta so that I can realize Paramarthik Satta ultimately. So I hope that clarifies the query.
So sometimes we differentiate between the Brahmavadi and the Mayavadi.
Right.
The Brahmavadi, they are respectful to Bhagavan, but they have a preference for impersonal Brahman. The Mayavadi says that Bhagavan takes on a material form. But it seems like what you described is the Mayavadi.
Exactly.
Is there such thing then as a Brahmavadi, and what's the difference?
So a Brahmavadi will say that Bhagavan's, the forms are also there, but superior to the form is the formless. That is what the Brahmavadi will say. Superior to the form is the formless. The Brahmavadi will not say that the form is made out of Maya. But the Brahmavadi will still say that the forms are all dependent on the formless absolute. So just like our forms are dependent on, our forms are dependent on the formless absolute. Similarly, the forms of Bhagavan are also dependent on the formless absolute. So those forms will be there eternally, but ultimately we want the formless. That is what they will. This is the difference between a Brahmavadi's thought process and a Mayavadi's thought process. A Mayavadi will say these forms are, illusionary. And the Brahmavadi will say they are real, but they are below the impersonal aspect of the Supreme. So these differences are there. Now then, why do you practice Bhakti Yoga? Why would a Brahmavadi practice Bhakti Yoga? Let's coming back to the question. They would practice Bhakti Yoga so that using a form using an aspect which in their mentality is lower, they can attain an aspect which they use it as a stepping, Bhakti Yoga as a stepping stone. So that is what it is for them.
How can in their view, how can a temporary, ultimately non-existent object lead you to a formless, existent reality?
For them, material objects are temporary and non-existent. Bhagwan is a permanently existing form of Brahman, but under Brahman.
For the Brahmavadi. But the first when you describe those three sattas, it sounded like a Mayavadi, where
Yeah,
they put Bhagawan.
obviously,
So
because
for such a person, they wouldn't take to bhakti, right? Because how can worshiping a temporary form lead to eternal formlessness?
because that temporary form is sattva guna, is in the mode of goodness. And the practitioner, the Mayavadi, may currently be in Rajogun and Tamogun. Doesn't he want to rise up? How does he rise up? By taking shelter of what?
Sattva.
Sattva. And how do you take shelter of sattva? By worshipping a deity which is in which mode? Sattva.
Sattva.
That's all.
Lastly, was Sridhar Swami in the camp of the Brahmavadi where he took impersonal Brahman as superior to Bhagawan?
Sridhar Swami was Advaitvadi, Adi Shankaracharya Sampraday, what we call Mayavadi. But he later took to the worship of Bhagawan, and it is said he gave up his Advaitavadi conceptions.
Thank you. Next we have Paramakaruna Prabhu.
Prabhuji, thank you so much. So continuing that little bit discussion, it brought up a question in my mind. So you're saying from a Brahmavadi's, Mayavadi, I understood what you said. But from a Brahmavadi standpoint, you said that they consider the impersonal Brahman to be superior to the one that has form.
Right.
But that form is still not material, because that would make him a Mayavadi.
Right.
So the form, it seems, is still spiritual.
Wonderful.
But then you're saying that within the spiritual domain, there is the formless and there is the form.
Wonderful.
But
Yeah.
but the Brahmavadi is supposed to consider everything as one, even and especially in the spiritual domain, because in the material domain, you said about the vyavaharik level satta, so we're not talking about that. So how come he considers the formless and the formful in the spiritual domain entirely? How does that still make him a Brahmavadi or a?
That's why they have
Where is
terms.
this distinguishing? Where is this coming?
That's why Brahmavadis have terms such as Sagun Brahma and Nirgun Brahma. What is the meaning of Sagun Brahma and what is the meaning of Nirgun Brahma?
My understanding of Sagun Brahma was the other one, that when you say the word guna, and from what all we understand, guna means the material mode, sattva, rajas, and tamas. So that Brahman, when he takes on the sattva guna,
that's a
that's what
Mayavadi's
my understanding was. Yeah, that
it's a
was my
Mayavad.
understanding of when.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know then what is the Brahmavadi meaning of Saguna Brahman.
So whenever Brahman takes on infinite divine qualities, so that is Sagun Brahma. And when Brahman is without those qualities, it's Nirgun Brahma. So quality basically means, because the Shastras define Bhagavan as having divine qualities. Brahmavadi knows that. So Sagun Brahma basically means Brahman with infinite divine qualities. Nirgun Brahma means Brahma devoid of those infinite qualities. That's all.
So basically, again, sorry to press on this a little more, but you're saying there's just infinite variegatedness in that oneness.
Wonderful.
It seems like kind of a oxymoron, variegatedness in oneness.
There is oneness and simultaneously there is variegatedness, but the Brahmavadi prefers the oneness. Let's just put it that way. The Brahmavadi does not say that the forms ultimately are temporary and illusory. Doesn't say that. The forms of Bhagavan are not illusory for the Brahmavadi. The forms of Bhagavan are illusory for the Mayavadi. That's the difference between a Brahmavadi and a Mayavadi. Sri Shukadev Goswami, he was a Brahmavadi earlier. So for Sri Shukadev Goswami, why did he hear the narrations of Sri Krishna? If Sri Krishna, according to him, Sri Krishna would be a temporary personality, temporary form. He heard the narrations of Sri Krishna because a Brahmavadi considers Shri Krishna to also be an eternal manifestation of the impersonal Brahman. That is why Shukdev Goswami took an interest in the subject matter. Shukdev Goswami was already situated in Sattva Guna, but still Shukdev Goswami knew that these are personal forms of Brahma, Sagun Brahma, and he started taking more interest in Sagun Brahma, and then he became very much attached to Bhagavan Shri Krishna. So that is what it is basically. Sagun here means with divine qualities. Nirgun means without divine qualities. That is what it is. So for Brahmavadi, there are two levels of reality existing. There is no doubt about that. The Brahmavadi sees material world as temporary and hence illusory. The Brahmavadi sees Bhagwan's form as eternal, but still subordinate to the impersonal Brahman. And then the Brahmavadi sees the impersonal Brahman as the highest level of reality. The four Kumaras, before they met Bhagavan Vishnu, what was their conception of Bhagavan Vishnu? Before they entered into it. Okay. What their conception of Vishnu? For them, what was
before hearing this talk, I would have said impersonal Brahman, but now I think what you mean or what you're expecting me to say, or not expecting me to say, but the refined version would be the Saguna Brahman as Vishnu with divine qualities. The
Wonderful.
Brahman with divine qualities as Vishnu.
Why would
I did not have that.
Why would they enter a place which they consider illusion? Why would they speak to a personality and glorify him if they consider him as an illusion? They glorified
my
Vishnu.
question was never about my question was never about the fact that whether it is illusion or not. My question was simply in that spiritual domain which is non-illusory. There is no illusion, there is no moha or maya there. There itself, how do they reconcile the fact that there is oneness and variegatedness, and then they are kind of being self-contradictory?
Right.
That's where the confusion arose.
Therefore, the Brahmavadis, they acknowledge Saguna Brahma and they acknowledge Nirguna Brahma. They may be personally attracted to Nirguna Brahma. That is what the Brahmavadi is. The Mayavadi dismisses Sagun Brahma as made out of material modes and ultimately illusory. That is what makes the Mayavadi a Mayavadi. Because then he says that why is he known as a Mayavadi? Do you know the reason why he's called as a Mayavadi? There's a very important reason why he's called as a Mayavadi, because he says because these forms like Krishna, Ram, etc., they are all made out of Maya. Ultimately, they are made out of Sattva Gun. So they are all ultimately made out of Maya. This indicates that Brahman can be overtaken by Maya, which indicates who is stronger, Brahma or Maya?
Maya.
So that Vad is called as which Vad?
Mayavad. Yep.
Therefore, Mayavad. Why is it called Mayavad? Because in that philosophy, Maya overpowers even Sagun Brahma. And, these forms such as Krishna, Ram, etc. are nothing but Maya overcoming Sagun Brahma. That is what they believe. Mayavad. Maya is stronger than Brahma. Therefore, Mayavad. All right.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Next we have Omkar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanapranam. Prabhuji, in follow-up of Param Guruma Prabhu's discussion, for a long time I was thinking about some specific example or let's say lineage which is focused on Brahmavad. When I was reading or hearing about Sri Vallabhacarya Sampraday, they call themselves as Brahmavadi, and the similar point which Param Guruma Prabhu raised, Vallabhacharya says that Brahma is Viruddha Dharma Ashray. So basically it is Nirgun and Sagun at the same time. It was very confusing at some point to understand his philosophy. But when I heard your today's point, so I just thought that basically he belongs to a Brahmavadi school where Sagun is given more importance. Because some aspects of this philosophy, like Shuddhadvaita, like in some sense, they do say that Jiva is basically Bhagawan. So it was at one point a little confusing in that way. But after hearing this point, I could just
There is
conclude in
a
that way.
there is a reason why we belong to Sri Madhvacharya Sampraday. Because see, all other sampradayas, many other sampradaya, Vaishnava sampradayas, they will say, you know, who is the what is the cause of the universe? They'll say Brahman is the cause of the universe. You know. But
Yes.
if you ask Madhvacharya, who is the Vishnu is the cause of the that's Madhvacharya. You see, that's in fact when I went to Udupi, there was a book, specific book in English, and you can try to find it. Brahman is Vishnu. That's the title of the book. So it's a Madhva book. Brahman is Vishnu. That's the title of the book. So these hair-splitting philosophical points a person may not be able to understand immediately, but once you dive into the philosophies and you find out that you know what is what. So the Chatusutri of the four important sutras of Vedanta, they lay down the foundations of the philosophy of a particular sampradaya, right? So it's very important to understand them. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Yes, true. True, only small point that like Vallabhacarya was in one sense influenced by our sampradaya in some sense, like the idea of rasa or Vrindavan Bhakti. It seems that much of the influence in their sampradaya is from Goswamis.
Yeah, it's okay. It's good to say that in a circle which is primarily Gaudiya Vaishnava. But if you go to them and say, well, you are influenced by us, then that's not how good relationships are made. Right? Good relationships are
But
made
that's
by
what the actually logical point is, like seeing the philosophy and how they accept these things. So,
see in Bhagawan Ram's Sampradaya, there is no conception of Madhurya, Ras, and Parakiya Bhav and so many things. But later, some devotees introduced even Parakiya Bhav within the Ram Bhakti Sampradaya. Although Sri Ram is married only to one, to Srimati Sita Devi. But still they have the concept of somebody later, saw the template of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and did not want Ram Bhakti to miss out on the template of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So there is a small sampradaya within the Ram Bhakti branch, which acknowledges that Bhagavan Ram can also have multiple paramour relationships. Although it's difficult to string all of that through historical pramanas from the Puranas, but still, people have that bhavana, people have that. And then when you go and tell them, well, you copied from Rupa Goswami, that's not how you make good relationships, okay? That's not how. So good relationships are made by, letting people believe what they want to believe, and just present. If you want to present some arguments, give them a literature. Don't start an argument with them. Give them a literature, because it's difficult to change the mindset of people. One thing I would like to say that historically the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya and the Ramanandi Sampradaya have been at odds on certain occasions, because when Sri Baldev Vidyabhushan was the reason for writing the commentary on Vedanta Sutra was because there was a complaint raised by the Ramanandi Vaishnavas in Jaipur. But at the same time, in the Ramanandi Sampradaya, there has been a literature named Bhaktamal, which is one of the this literature was approved for study by Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, and this is a very broad-minded literature. The author Sri Nabhadas, he says he lists all the sadhus of all the sampradayas. He lists Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, and he says he was an incarnation of Sri Krishna. Directly it is said in the Bhaktamal, he is an incarnation of Sri Krishna. So for somebody from another sampradaya to have such a broad-minded vision and say that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was an incarnation of Krishna, he doesn't need to do that, but he did that. So that's an all-encompassing spirit which was seen at that particular point of time, and we should try to maintain that all-encompassing spirit at this particular point of time also, because Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said that quarrel amongst Vaishnavas is like the forest fire, which can, destroy the mood of Sri Vrindavan. So let's try to maintain that. somebody has copied from Rupa Goswami, very nice. Imitation is the best form of flattery. So that is what we should think. That Rupa Goswami, nobody, there cannot be another Rupa Goswami. There cannot be another Rupa Goswami. That's it. He is our ancestor, and we are very happy for that. Right?
Yes. Thank you. Dhanathan.
Next we have Mohit Deshmukh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Thank
Thank you for such a heart-melting presentation. The mood of a Jnani, Bhagavad Jnani, and many things. My question was, Prabhu, Prabhuji, after listening the discussion on Jnanis, Brahmavadis and Mayavadis, my understanding was Brahmavadis are more closer to Bhagavan. Is it correct understanding?
Brahmavadis are bona fide Vedic path. Brahmavad is a bona fide Vedic path. Shukadeva Goswami was a Brahmavadi. It's a bona fide Vedic path. Mayavadi is considered in scripture to be non-bona fide path.
Oh.
Mayavadam asat shastram prachannam bauddham uchyate. It is covert Buddhism. That is what Mayavadi has been spoken of in the Shastra. Why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never spoke a single word against Brahmavadis, but against the Mayavadis, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has spoken a very harsh statement. And what is the harsh statement that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has spoken against Mayavadis? This is Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 17.129. You can read what is highlighted. What has he said?
Mayavadi Krishna Aparadhi.
Mayavadi is directly an offender unto whom?
Krishna.
Why?
Because he accepts that his form, or Bhagavan's form or body is made up of the modes of nature.
Is made out of Maya.
Maya, yes.
Therefore, which Vadi?
Maya.
Maya.
And it is an bona fide Vedic.
This is not bona fide, it is not non-Vedic.
This was not known like
this understanding is common between Buddhism and Mayavad. If you ask a Buddhist who is Krishna and who is Ram, what will the Buddhist say?
Everything is clear.
Okay, but the forms that we see right now, what are they?
They are not true, not illusion. They are illusion.
So Krishna and Ram?
Illusion.
And the Mayavadi will also say what? The same.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, similarity is greater with whom? Buddhists, right? Therefore, Mayavadam asat shastram prachannam bauddham uchyate. There is a verse in Shastra comparing Mayavad to Prachanna Bauddham, Prachanna Bauddha, that it is covert Buddhism. And Shri Jiva Goswami has quoted this verse in the Sandarbhas. Right? If you want,
Yes.
I can show you that verse. Have you seen that verse before?
No, Prabhuji. I heard it first time.
Okay.
Then we can definitely say that here Srila Rupa Goswami is saying about the Brahmavadi. We can
Yes, obviously. See here in the Paramatma Sandarbha, you can read the verse. Mayavadam asachastram prachannam bauddham uchyate. Mayaiva katitam devi kalau
brahmana rupina.
So Mayavadam asat shastra. Mayavad is non-bona fide shastra. Prachannam bauddham, covert Buddhism, it is known as. Jiva Goswami is quoting in Paramatma Sandarbha. Why is it covert Buddhism? I explained the reason why. Mayaiva kathitam devi. So Bhagavan Shiva says, I myself have spoken Mayavad, Kalau, in Kali Yuga, Brahmana Rupina, in the form of a Brahmana. Vedante tu Mahashastre. Vedant is a great literature, definitely. Brahmavad is bona fide, but Mayavadam Avaidikam. Mayavad is non-Vedic. So this is very
Yes,
clearly
right.
mentioned. It's all there in the Sandarbhas. Right.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I liked your comment about the beginning of Bhagavatam and how it was important that Vyasadeva was unsatisfied before his guru would give him those instructions. Recently, I'd heard some people express doubts about why is Bhagavatam the supreme scripture, and hearing your comment made me think that unless someone's dissatisfied with other scriptures, how can they ever understand the position of Bhagavatam?
Wonderful. Yes. When the speaker of the entirety of Vedic literature was dissatisfied with everything else, how can the readers be satisfied? That's a very simple thing. The readers will be satisfied only if the author himself is not satisfied, if the compiler is not satisfied. What should we expect from the readers? So, when the compiler was, which literature was the compiler of Vedic literature satisfied with? Srimad Bhagavatam. So, it can be expected that the individuals who read Srimad Bhagavatam, they will be satisfied because Sri Vyasadeva himself was satisfied with Srimad Bhagavatam.
And if they are satisfied with other scriptures, then they won't be able to appreciate Bhagavatam.
Yeah. The Srimad Bhagavatam mentions what is the form of such satisfaction. How does satisfaction look like? Do you want to see how satisfaction looks like?
Absolutely.
Because the tangible result of such satisfaction is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that this verse is the sum and substance, the most important verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. This is what satisfaction looks like. This is most important verse in Srimad Bhagavatam according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Evam vratah sva priyanama kirtya chatanurago dritachitta uchchai asatyathoroditi rautigayatyunmadavan rityati lokabhaya. Prabhuji, kindly read the from here. Kindly read the entire translation.
Okay. By chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord, one comes to the stage of love of Godhead. Then the devotee is fixed in his vow as an eternal servant of the Lord, and he gradually becomes very much attached to a particular name and form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As his heart melts with ecstatic love, he laughs very loudly, or cries, or shouts. Sometimes he sings and dances like a madman, for he is indifferent to public opinion.
This one thing I was saying when I was replying to one of the query, to be indifferent to public opinion. Shastra has approved. This is what is the experience of the devotee. The impersonalist will never have this experience ever in his life. Never ever does any Shastra for the impersonalist promise a result like this. This is exclusively reserved for somebody who has become a devotee, who has attained the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to quote this. It is quoted again in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 7.94. And this is what he said. Prabhu, kindly read this.
Saying this, my spiritual master taught me a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. It is the essence of all the Bhagavatam's instructions. Therefore, he recited this verse again and again.
This is the essence of all the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. The experiential aspect of Srimad Bhagavatam was written in the Srimad Bhagavatam by the author of the Srimad Bhagavatam, who first experienced it himself on the banks of the Saraswati before he compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Bhakti Yogena Manasi Samyak Pranite Mate Apashat Purusham Purnam Mayam Chatara Pashre. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Next, we have Madhav Tripati Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, from this particular verse, Mayavadam Asat Shastram, it appears that it was first introduced by Sri Adi Shankaracharya. So,
Hey, we
is
are
there
not
any
taking names of people or institutions here, right? Yeah. Did Jiva Goswami take anybody's name?
No, Prabhuji.
Why?
To avoid conflicts.
Wonderful. So the thing is, yeah, we understand indirectly, who's being indicated. All right. So what is the query? Without naming anybody, what is the query?
So, Prabhuji, did that particular philosophy, is there any reference of that philosophy existing prior to the appearance?
Philosophies given by Mahadev are eternally present within his mind. Sometimes they manifest, sometimes they unmanifest. Is Buddhism an eternal philosophy, yes or no?
From this explanation, it appears yes.
Is Buddha an eternal form of Bhagawan, yes or no?
I don't think so, because he is a Shakta Vesha.
All forms of Bhagawan are eternal. Right, Prabhu? That's the Siddhanta. No form of Bhagawan is temporary and illusory.
Yeah, he's in Bhagavatam, therefore he is eternal.
Wonderful. So the philosophies are all. So Gyan and Agyan both come from Bhagavan. Right? Knowledge and ignorance both come from Bhagavan. This is Vedic philosophy. Where Bhagavan turns away his back, that is Agyan. Where Bhagavan turns away his back, that is Adharma. That is what it is. There is a praman for that. Sri Rishabdev says, Prishthe kritam me yada dharma arad. Ato himam rishabham prahurarya. In the Bhagavatam, Sri Rishabdev says, let me share my screen with you. 5.5.19. Idam shariram mama durvibhavyam sattvam hridayam yatra dharma. My hridayam, my heart is where dharma lies. Prishthe krito, and where I have turned my back, there is adharma. Arada. Ato himam rishabham. You can kindly, yeah, within my heart can be found the process of devotional service. Far from my heart, prishthe means on my backside, where I have turned away. That is where adharma is. So that is what it is, basically. Where Bhagavan turns away from a particular position, that is where adharma begins. So dharma and adharma both are introduced by Bhagavan. He is the cause of introduction of both of these in the world. So that is the answer to the question.
Thank you so much, Ravi.
Sri Adi Shankaracharya is very respected Acharya of the Vedic Sampradaya. Because of him, we have the culture of commenting upon the 10 Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and Vedanta Sutra. He is the one who first commented upon Bhagavad Gita in recent history. His commentary is the earliest available commentary to us. Sri Jiva Goswami addresses him as Bhagavad Pad in his Sandarbhas. Sri Jiva Goswami never speaks a single word of negativity against the personal character of Sri Adi Shankaracharya. All Gaudiya Vaishnavas should note this fact, that in the personal character of Sri Adi Shankaracharya, there is not a single flaw. We disagree with the philosophy that he has propagated. But for his personal character, his renunciation, and his contribution to Vedic Dharma, we have immense and great respect. And for this reason, we call him Bhagavad Pad, he who was sitting at the lotus feet of Bhagavan himself, Sri Adi Shankaracharya. Yes, Prabhu.
He also composes sweet verses like Bhaja Govindam, Mudamate, Samprapte, Sanhite Kali. But I'm going to pass over the host role to Paramakaruna Prabhu, and then he can call on himself for a question. I'm just being silly.
Yeah, sure.
Prabhuji, thank you. Sorry, one more question that came up in my mind from this discussion. And please feel free to, take this up later or not take this up if this is not directly relevant. But somewhere I was reading recently, and I have kind of, I forget where, there's so much social media and this and that. So I may have understood it incorrectly, but because of your vast, great depth of knowledge, I thought I'll get the correct thing from you. Somewhere I read that now Lord Buddha is obviously mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 3rd chapter of 1st canto. And he's definitely an authorized, bona fide incarnation of the Lord. But somewhere I read that that Buddha which is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam is not the historical Buddha that we understand or we know. Is that the right? Did I catch that correctly, or is somebody just kind of, mixing it up?
No,
What's your understanding?
No, you correctly understood, because it is mentioned in the purport to 2.3.37 that the Buddha which is mentioned here is different from the Buddha. I will share the reference with you so that you can, this is what you wanted.
Okay.
Kindly read.
This incarnation of Lord Buddha is not the same Buddha incarnation we have in the present history of mankind. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the Buddha incarnation mentioned in this verse appeared in a different Kali age. Okay.
Right. So this is where you had read it. This is where I'm bringing you back to the reference. You can kindly note the reference. It is in Sri Jiva Goswami's commentary to Bhagavatam 2.7.37.
Oh, this is Srila Jiva Goswami's commentary.
Right. It was mentioned in Prabhupada's commentary, and
okay,
from there you can trace it back to Sri Jiva Goswami, because Prabhupada has given the credit to Sri Jiva Goswami. 2.7.37. So I hope that satisfies your query, Prabhuji. Yes.
So just to make sure I understand correctly, the one in Srimad Bhagavatam is the one in a different Kali age. But
Yes.
the modern, obviously, that we know is from this age, from
Right.
500 BC, or who's
Right.
The one whose teachings were adopted by King Ashoka and so on.
Yes. But the one mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, is a different one. Right.
All right, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Okay, I don't see any other hands or questions. Let's see, there's something when we become Vimukh. Mohit Deshmukh Prabhu, is that a question on the chat, or I don't understand? And we become unmukh towards Bhagawan.
I think it's a comment.
Okay, yeah. Okay, we have a question from Bhavya Bhagwan Prabhu. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation, Prabhuji. You gave a lot of clarity about so many things and misconceptions, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, like when you began the question answer session, you talked about adhikar, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, just wanted to understand, like karma adhikar in bhakti and total bhakti adhikar, Prabhuji. So, what is the differentiating factor? Like in karma adhikar, you just render some service to the Lord, or how is it different from bhakti adhikar, Prabhuji?
Prabhuji, there are no mixtures of adhikar here. Either you have karma adhikar, you have jnana adhikar, or you have bhakti adhikar. There is no karma adhikar within bhakti. Bhakti karma is bhakti. That is what it is. What is bhakti karma? Bhakti karma is bhakti itself.
Yeah.
So, what is karma adhikar? When Bhagawan says in Bhagavad Gita, karmani eva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana, that is karma adhikar. All people in general have adhikar for karma, for performing their prescribed duties. That is karma adhikar. Once you become detached from karma and you develop an inquisitive nature into the impersonal Brahman, you get jnana adhikar. Once you become devoted to service of the Supreme Lord in any form, that is bhakti adhikar. Those are the three adhikars.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
So there are no sub levels of adhikar. These are the three adhikars mentioned by the acharyas: karma adhikar, jnana adhikar, bhakti adhikar. You are driving a car for the temple, or for serving Bhagwan or serving the Vaishnavas, it's bhakti adhikar. You are executing bhakti adhikar. It's not karma adhikar or jnana adhikar. All right?
Understood. Thank you,
Okay.
Prabhuji.
Thank you.
All right. I think Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu Prabhu, would you like to close the meeting with your remarks?
Thank you so much, Paramakarna Prabhu. I really appreciate it. And so another big thank you for your time and attention and so much careful detail and love that you put into these presentations and Q&As. So wonderful to have you as our teacher and guide.
I just want to say maybe next week we may not be having the class. I'm traveling outside, so we will continue the week after that. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
Prabhuji. And so I'll invite all the devotees to unmute and give a big thank you to Hari Parsha Prabhu. I'm just looking for the option here. Okay, everyone has permission. Let's all give a big thank you to Hari Parsha Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you very much.
Hare
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much for the
Thank you so
presentation.
much.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Shri
Prabhuji.
Jai
Hari Parsha Prabhu ki.
Srila
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Pasha Prabhu ji ki jai. Dandat
Srila
pranam Prabhu
Prabhupada
ji.
ki
Hare
jai.
Thank you.
so
Thank
much.
you for showing us the correct path. Prabhuji.
Srila Prabhupada
This
ki
is-
jai.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Jai Srila
Thank you.
Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Jai. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your Sangha. And we'll see
Hari
you
Bol.
in a couple
Hari
weeks.
Bol.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Hari Bo.
Hare Krishna.